Good day, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde, and welcome to this Mi3 Let's Talk Mining presentation. My name is Mario Drolet. We're very pleased today to have with us Mr. Trey Wasser, who is the CEO of Dryden Gold. Bonjour, Trey. Welcome to the show. Thank you for
Thank you,
being with
Mario.
us. Thank you. Also, with Trey, Miss Maura Kolb, who is the president of Dryden. Bonjour, Maura. Welcome to the show. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, very good. And on this, Trey, give us the speech, the latest development, and I know that I've been listening to the story as I know you guys have picked up a fantastic property, a big land package project south of Dryden. Historically, there was some amazing result, and definitely praying as a shareholder that we will come across these results like. They would be a fantastic, phenomenal result. So on this, up to you, Trey and Amara. And again, thank you very much. Let's do a 20-25 minute presentation, and after, let's open the question for the mic. Let's open the mic for questions. Sorry, and get going. On this,
Okay.
Perfect.
Yep, that's
So you-
perfect, Mario. Thank you very much, and
thank you.
thanks for putting this together. Thanks everybody who jumped on the call here. I know it's summertime, and there's in Canada you have a limited time to have a lot of fun up there. So and with the good weather, and so I know a lot of people are out there enjoying it, and so just I want to jump right in here, talk about the Dryden Gold story. It's a very new story as far as the public market goes. We just came public in January, so we have about 7 months of public operation under our belt. We did spend about almost 2 years putting this property package together as a private company, and also our team on the board with me is Jason Jessup, who runs a company called Magna Mining. He did a lot of work for me at Ely Gold Royalties, the last company that I was involved with, and then on the director's side, and also Darren Wagner, who many of you may know, also a good friend of Mario's, had the company Balmoral that was recently sold. Before that, West Timmins Mining. And Christina McCarthy, another director that recently sold her company Paycor. So we have a board of directors that is made up of people who are experienced at building companies and selling them. Ely Gold Royalties, my previous company, we started with the royalty model in 2016 at about an $8 million market cap, coincidentally about where Dryden is today. And sold that in 2021 to Gold Royalty Corp for $300 million. So, the board is made up of people who understand how to build shareholder value, and not only that, but how to realize shareholder value. And quite frankly, in the junior exploration market, that is through, strategic alliances with mid-tier major companies and putting a package together that is of interest to them for M&A activity. Then on the technical side, some of you have heard this story before, having had a chance to meet Maura. Maura came to us last year as president. She is a structural geologist by trade, and she heads up our entire exploration team and efforts. And Maura spent a couple of years at Treasury Metal in the camp there. She is local, lives in Dryden, and which gives us a real leg up in a lot of areas. But most importantly, Maura spent about 8 years with Gold Corp at West Red Lake mine, the Red Lake mine, not West Red Lake, excuse me, Red Lake. And there she ran the exploration team, had about 90 people working under her, a large budget, was in charge of not only the reserve replacement underground exploration, but also the property-wide regional exploration. And then late last year, Anna Hicken, who worked with very closely, actually was Maura's number 2 at Red Lake, we were also able to pick up. So we have a very talented team who really understand this type of geology and these type of Archean gold systems. And then what we've put together with that is a very strategic land package, which we'll get to on the next slide. And then as a private company, we were able to attract, and with our public RTO, a very good shareholder base. I mean, we've had a lot of success in telling this story. Our largest shareholder is Alamos Gold, and they got their position because we bought part of this property from a company that they purchased early last year. But Eric Sprott has been involved since early on. Rob McEwen, who used to own part of this property at Gold Corp, is involved. Adrian Day and the Europac Peter Schiff's Gold Fund, Europac Gold Fund is involved. We're currently doing some financing and adding a couple of new funds, US Global and Pathfinder, and then Delbert Capital also involved. So a very strong shareholder base with some large positions of, solid long-term shareholders. The property package itself is very strategic. I'm going to let Maura talk more on why this is so strategic, but as you can see there, it's mostly focused on a southwest northeast orientation. Most of the property that's along a major fault system there, similar to what you see at in the Timmins camp and also at Red Lake. And it's an excellent area. In the green there is Kinross, has an early stage project. The purple is Treasury Metals up at the top with their 3 million ounce low grade deposit. And what we are looking for here is the high grade in this camp. And there is quite a bit of it as you get into this. And when we started putting this property package together, there's probably about a dozen different deals that went into consolidating this land package, something that's never been done in this camp before, and then given a property district-wide geological approach to it. And since the first of the year and us going public, we had Kenorland, who's in the blue there, came into the camp, one of the premier explorers, and we're actually working with them there on some of the property where they had joined us over there on the east side. And then most recently, the Treasury Metals did a merger with a company called Black Wolf Copper, which is majority owned by Frank Giustra. And that team has come in with Sean Kunken and some of the other people that work with Frank to really revitalize that project, and we think expand it, and we think there's a we may very well hold the key to their future there. So let me this camp has had very limited exploration. I'm going to jump out of here and let Maura jump in because I could talk about this property for the full 25 minutes. I have been known to do that. So Maura, why don't you talk to him about why this property is so strategic, and then go into some of the geological similarities to Red Lake and that type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Just before we jump off of this slide, I want to point out again that structure that Trey mentioned that was so important from the northeast down to the southwest. That's the Manitou-Dinorwic deformation zone, and we feel that is really the key to the high grade gold mineralization. So we've strategically picked up all the ground along that is stakeable, and we feel you need to be about 1 kilometer or 2 away from that to really have the best chance for very high grade gold mineralization. This area has seen some historic mining back at the turn of the century, the 1800s turn of the century. So it was very piecemeal even then. And Trey mentioned that the part of this coming together was really a lot of different land package deals to amalgamate this property. And even at the time of the historic mining, there were several different operators just on this small piece of land that I'm showing here, which is about a 7-kilometer strike. The deepest mine in this area was mined to 140 meters depth, so very shallowly explored and mined so far. But as you can see, there's some really spectacular gold. That's the highest grade hit on our property, and it's 53,000 grams per ton in that vein that you see there. And when you look at it out to a mining width. It's over 8.5 meters. It's 3,500 grams per ton. So very spectacular grades are hosted in this camp. And where are we located? Where is Dryden anyway? Well, it's in Northwestern Ontario. We're about 2 hours south of Red Lake. We're about an hour and a half north of the Rainy River Mine and Eco Eagles Hammond Reef. So a very good neighborhood for high-grade gold. We mentioned this before, but we have high-grade hits from top to bottom of this property. Really exciting that way. We see a lot of smoke, but what we have that separates us from another large land play is that we have a brownfields opportunity here. There's been limited exploration, but about 20,000 meters of the drilling that's happened in this whole camp has been on the Gold Rock camp area. That's where the historic mining was. And that really gives us a brownfields opportunity within this overall district play that we have. So we'll go into a little bit more detail on that. We'll look here at the Gold Rock camp and we'll speak to some of the similarities that I see between the Red Lake camp, Timmins, and what we have here. So the very busy map that we're looking at is the geophysics of the area. And what I really want to point out here is we've done a study with some very smart people. They do a 3D inversion, create a geologic model based on the geophysics, and then we get targets out of that. So all the red lines on this map are showing different targets that we see. They're going up and down that Manitou-Dinorwic deformation zone that's going from the northeast to the southwest, lots of targets along that. They pop up right over top of some of the historic mines and the deposits that are known in the area. So this method is working for highlighting deposits in this area and therefore new targets. So we're very excited about the amount of targets here in the Gold Rock camp, and we've started looking at some of those. Now, if we could look at the comparison between this and Red Lake, that's one of the reasons why I joined the team. I couldn't help but love how similar the geometries were between the Gold Rock camp and Red Lake. We have this fold with faults coming in and cross-cutting that. That kind of geometry really creates excellent traps for high-grade gold mineralization. And here there just hasn't been the exploration to really show us the true potential of the area. Metal Earth, who is out of Laurentia University, they've done a study here comparing this camp to the Timmins camp, and specifically looking at the main structure that we mentioned before being a great host for gold and being similar to the Porcupine-Dester Fault. So great comparisons and really prolific camps to be compared to. Now, looking at this geologic map, I really just drive home the point I made on the last one. You see that fold, you see I've traced out in black all the different faults. We have a lot of intersections here, and those really create excellent traps for high-grade gold. We have some historic data here, so we're looking at a brownfields opportunity. It's really only been defined for about 1.5 kilometers, but we have 20 kilometers of strike in this camp, giving us lots of opportunity with all those targets we looked at on the last slide for new discoveries within this area. Very similar geology to Red Lake. And something very exciting is that the predecessor did do some metallurgical study here, and we have very free gold. It's we have recoveries about 86% just with gravity and goes up to over 99% with the addition of cyanide. So excellent metallurgical work here so far. Trey mentioned that we only became public at the beginning of the year, but we came out of the gates very aggressively. We wanted to be able to show how much potential there was on this property. And we had 3 major objectives for our first exploration drill campaign. The first was to show that there is room for a lot of expansion within the Gold Rock camp. So we stepped out to the north and the south to see that the mineralizing system was still there. And we hit some mineralization up to the north as well. Not spectacular grades, but certainly promising to show us that the gold fluids were still there. Then we focused in on the known high-grade areas. And the reason for that was to test our hypothesis of the controls of gold mineralization. I really believe that they're quite similar to Red Lakes. So we were testing that and getting the right orientations of the structures that control the mineralization. We had some excellent results on that. 14 grams per ton over 7.5 meters on what was the historic Elora discovery. So that's over here on the west side of the map. We also see that there are cross-cutting structures. I showed you that in the last couple maps where we have the northeast trending ones and then the more east-west trending ones. So we saw the pattern of a few of those more east-west trending structures coming through and cutting through these veins. And we believe that's where the high-grade shoots will be. So we decided to test new theories as well. And we stepped out from the high-grade shoot on Big Master 2 to the west on Big Master 1, and we intersected a new high-grade shoot, and we got 26 grams per ton over 3 meters. So an excellent result. We haven't followed that up yet, but I'll be getting to that shortly. So exciting stuff to come. Then we stepped out 400 meters to the south, and we intersected another new high-grade shoot. So we're really starting to use what we've learned to test and predict new high-grade on this property. We've learned several things besides the 3 objectives that we initially started out with. We really believe that there's a robust footprint for near surface high grade here. We found that there was mineralization in the sheared basalts. So the previous operators, they really felt that the gold was only related to veins, and they sampled just the vein material in this camp. So what we were able to see was that the halo on either side can be just sheared basalt. And we sampled that and seen that there is significant mineralization in that as well. It gives us an opportunity, and I'll get into it in a minute, but we have about 20,000 meters of the historically drilled core on the property. So we're going back and doing a relogging campaign on that to really focus in on the potential of what was missed by the previous operators. They also really didn't sample hanging wall and footwall mineralization that we've seen. So sometimes sporadically they would test a little veinlet, hanging wall or footwall to those main structures. Well, we're seeing that we hit those in all of our holes, those hanging wall and footwall structures. So we're going back and looking at the potential of those structures as well, even when they're not necessarily big veins. I just want to show you on this a couple examples. So we're looking at the cross section here. This is the Big Master 2 and 1 structures, and then the hanging wall or the dotted lines to the front and the back of those structures. So really potential for more stacked mineralization in this area. And then the other picture is a contoured long section. So what is that? Well, it's the grade times the thickness down one of the veins. And I'll show you an opportunity that we see here. The area here in red really looks a bit odd, doesn't it? Like, you would think that whole area would be red and we wouldn't have this orange pocket. Well, that's why we're going back to do the relogging to kind of fill in the continuity of these veins. We believe because they selectively sampled that we only captured the vein material and not the halo around it. So the width won't look the same. So that's one of the opportunities. We may have better continuity in these vein sets than we realize today. So we'll get into that now. We've been able to begin this relogging campaign. We have some of the regional core. We have a lot of the core that was in the Gold Rock camp itself. We just got a new core shack location, so we've been busy setting up there and getting ready for relogging and the drill campaign that just started today. And let me just mention one thing, or maybe I'll let Trey go into this, but relogging, some people tell me it's not sexy, but relogging was pinnacle for the Great Bear discovery. Now, they had done a lot of the same work that we've done, you know, our geophysical studies, doing good regional mapping, looking at all the data points. But when they did the relog, they found visible gold in Newmont's old core. But because they had all of that foundational work, they knew exactly what that meant, and that it meant there was a new discovery to be had. So it could be very sexy, and we're hoping it will be for us too.
Yeah, I'll just point out before you go on to the summer field program is just to make sure on that everybody knows that this is all near surface high grade gold. What we're looking at, our deepest hole was about 200 meters. The average hole in our drill program was about 120, 130 meters on average. The very high grade discovery that that Manitou had drilled in that first known high grade zone was at 75 meters depth. So what we're talking about here is a very near surface opportunity. And so when we did that first drill program, you know, we in this market where funds are limited, we really made an effort to start to expand that footprint with shallower holes. So we know that in this part of the world, these mines will get better at depth, but we're not in a position, we don't feel, in this market to be drilling deep holes and, you know, $500,000 holes. And so in expanding that footprint, what we essentially did is most of the historic work was done on the one vein. We have the 3 parallel veins there. And, you know, so where we started with, and right there is where that known high grade zone is. So they stepped across onto the big master 1 vein there, and that's the 26 grams. And then went over onto the Elora vein, and that's the 14 grams over 7 meters, and then followed that cross structure back onto and actually intercepted both veins over there. And those veins you can see are coming together. The hanging wall and footwall are both evident there. So, and there's very little, if not almost no drilling to the south there. So a lot of expanding the footprint, but keeping in mind that we're looking at it like a 1 kilometer piece. There's 7 kilometers of patented claims that showed up on that first historic map of the historic mining, and then 20 kilometers in what we're focusing on here now in the Gold Rock camp. But that's out of a total 50-kilometer strike length that we have from top to bottom on this property, as well as something very interesting on one of the cross structures off to the east. So we're talking about near surface, and in some cases, we feel open pittable, high grade gold. So back to you,
Absolutely.
Mark,
And
talk about
yeah,
Summerfield.
I think that was a perfect segue into the summer field program. We talked a little bit about these east-west structures and how they're important within the Gold Rock camp, but we also decided to, when we were looking at this land package, I think we picked up the most strategic of the east-west structures. We look here at Hinman, the Trans-Canada Highway runs right through that property. So we have excellent infrastructure. And last year during our reconnaissance program, we picked up 5 samples, 4 of which ran over 10 grams per ton on the Hinman property. So it's one of our main targets for this summer's field campaign. We did geophysical study over top of that as well in the spring. And we had 4 other targets pop up with very similar signatures to that area that we had the 4 great results from. So I'm very excited about what we'll find from there. And we're using all of the knowledge that we've gathered from Gold Rock to apply it there, because we're in the same structural setting overall. So it's very exciting. And the team we have put together for the summer has excellent experience in this neck of the woods. Some experts specifically have done their studies here. So I'm really excited about the opportunities that we're going to come up with over this summer campaign.
Yeah, stay on that slide 1 second more. I don't want to get too much into this, but Hinman is very, you know, this is typical of this property, because people ask, well, why, if there's so much high grade gold on this property, why hasn't this been more seriously explored in the past? And there's 2 reasons. One, the claims have always been very fragmented here. So nobody's put together a big enough package and consolidated all the claims to really focus on the geology and all the cross-section structures and that regional folding and stuff to really put a scientific program together. The second thing is the forestry here. This is a lot of it can be very dense country and has historically been, but in the last 50 to so years, there's a paper mill in Dryden, and they've been doing some extensive forestry. So they have opened up the Gold Rock camp like never before for us. We've got roads we can drive right to most of those targets and certainly where we drilled this early this year. Hinman has been completely clear cut. So they've stripped off all the cover there. We flew that with a drone recently, and we can, have been able to see all the structures. And so that's the second reason that this camp has never gotten the kind of attention that it can potentially get now. And I'll just add one other thing. We don't want to do too much name dropping, but one of the geologists that's coming in just spent 3 years heading up the program for Newfound Gold in their early stage exploration and mapping over on their property. So he's pretty good at this early stage targeting and figuring out figuring out rocks.
Absolutely. So now it brings us to a very exciting program, our drill campaign that we just begun. This is really to, I feel, follow up on the new high-grade shoots that we discovered in the first few phases of drilling, and drive home that we can consistently find and deliver high-grade gold results. So we're going to follow up on our best result on the Elora system, that 14 grams over 7.5 meters. We're going to follow up on the high-grade shoot where we hit 26 grams per ton over 3 meters. And that was the first hole we did into that particular target. And then when we look at that long section that I showed before on this Big Master 2 structure, we did an interpretation based on all the historic data. And it really looks to me that there's the potential for that high-grade shoot to be wider. So we're going to test in between that. There are a few historic holes that almost create a second high-grade shoot adjacent to the one that had 53,000 grams per ton in it. So we're going to test that as well and see if we can expand or combine these two high-grade shoots. So it's pretty exciting targets that we have coming up in the summer drill campaign that we've just begun. And then we're going to follow up with in the fall. We need to get exploration permits to continue to explore off of the patented ground. So we showed in a map earlier about 7 kilometers of patented ground where we don't need an exploration permit, but we have always kind of acted as if we were permitting. We've consulted with the local First Nations about our programs ahead of time, and I think we've built a good relationship. So I don't foresee issues with permitting some of these other targets in the fall. We'll also base any of the fall drilling off of the regional work that we're doing and the relogging. So everything that we learn over the summer will be integrated into an upcoming fall drill campaign.
More on that slide too, let's just point out to him that the Laurentian gold mine there, so you're looking at about a kilometer strike from the arrow at the south where we have the 14 grams over 7 meters. The Laurentian mine was the largest producing mine in the camp, about a kilometer northeast there on the same vein. That mine produced at 14 grams. So, you know, we've drilled that southern hole is as close as far north as we can drill on that vein from the patented ground there. And then the rest of it, then it kind of steps out. So actually that hole that we drilled is off the patents, but we drilled it from a pad on the patents. And then, so we're very excited to get that permitted and opened up. And we think, you know, we have the potential for, again, that's a different style of mineralization at Laurentian. It's a very high sulfide, thick sulfide mineralization. And again, you know, we think we have the potential there for, you know, possibly a kilometer strike length. And so that in this summer program, Maura mentioned, we will be going back to that south hole and drilling that a little deeper to kind of show that it also has some legs at depth over there.
Okay.
And as I mentioned before, lots of targets regionally, but we're very structured about the way we rank and rate them, looking at, of course, things like the grade, it's always king, size of the prize. Do we have a social license for these targets, logistical access, because we want to get the best bang for our buck and bring the shareholders the most value. So we want to look at all of those things so that we can deliver the best targets. This also is really important when we think about a strategic investment in the future or buyout. We've put together a district scale property, and we also want to show that we have district scale potential for growth. So it is important to look at the other exploration targets and kind of continue to grow our exploration pipeline here and really show that there's a lot of potential and blue sky on this property.
I'm going to open the question. In the core to relog, Maura, are you seeing anything interesting? Visible gold or things like that? Because 20,000 meter of drilling, what is the cost of that today?
Oh, the cost of that today, we have a pretty low drill cost, and we're looking at about $200 a meter all in, like everything. So it gets pretty pricey. And the opportunity we have, because the core that we've found so far has been maybe half sampled at best. I was out there actually packing it up with the team over the last week, and we saw sulfide rich rocks that hadn't been sampled. We saw interesting types of lithologies or rock types that,
Okay.
I know in Red Lake host deposits that hadn't been sampled in some of the regional cores. So I don't know what we're going to see, and I haven't seen VG yet, so I can't say that, but certainly interesting rock types, mineralization that I thought would have been sampled, even some veining that wasn't. So it's certainly a good opportunity, and I can't wait to get through all of it. We've just been focused on bringing it into our new core shack and really getting set up to ramp up.
Okay, very good. Thank
So
you.
to do the math, Mario, that'd be about $4 million worth of drilling today.
That's a nice gift.
Correct me if
Somebody
I'm
made
wrong,
you
but
a gift, Ray.
didn't we see VG in some of that core from Sheridan property?
In the holes that they drilled on Sheridan, they drilled 10 and 8 of them had VG that Manitou found. So I'm curious about the holes. Like there was one that they sampled only 6 meters of. So what does that hole really host? Because that was very poorly sampled. So I'm excited to see. That's one of the properties way down at the bottom, the one with the star there. So
Okay, very good.
pretty interesting.
I know there's some question in the chat. I'll go back pretty fast. We talk about burn rate, salary management. What are your plans for US marketing if you are listed on a OTCQB?
Beaver Creek in September, and then 1-to-1 in October, and then in November 1-to-1 in London, and then 1-to-1 in the Swiss Mining Institute show in Zurich.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Both in
That's a very
November.
good one.
So yeah, so we should have, between the relogging program and the drills turning, we should have good news flow starting in probably about 6 weeks, and we'll keep those drill rigs turning. We'll fill that in with more trips to Quebec before it gets too cold, and some other work with with you guys up there, and we're looking at some other alternatives for to bring on some marketing power here.
Very good.
Yeah, and we
Terry,
always
do you have any question?
We do town halls too, and make our own kind of videos explaining what we're seeing in the results and as we go. So there'll be more of that too.
Yeah, very good. I saw that when will you have revenues? Not now, that's for sure. Eve asked when you will drill and when we can expect result. September, October?
We're starting to drill today. So the team, all other than me, is out in the bush today with the drillers getting set up to go. They all arrived last night. So we'll be commencing immediately. Should probably see core tomorrow, I would expect.
Okay,
and
very
then
good.
Turnaround times at the lab are a little bit slower, but now we're setting up in Dryden for cutting, logging everything at our own core shack. And there is a assay lab here in town too. So I'm hoping that will all speed up the process, but early fall.
Okay, very good.
Probably
Then
about
Trey,
6 weeks to turn around, would be
6
a
weeks.
6 to 8, yeah.
best case snenario.
Yeah.
And next week, Trey, you will be I will be there also to ring the bell at the TSX in Toronto.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we're going to have a nice lunch at the High Steakhouse.
Yeah.
For a bunch of people on Wednesday next week, and
It'll be interesting. I think we already close to 20 guests so far, and we have room up to 40, so it'll be very interesting. So on this, I'd like to thank you very much, Trey Wesser, the CEO of Dryden Gold, Oracle, president geologist of the company. Excellent work. Always amazed by the size of the project. Also, I know that to the southwest, you have Dynasty Gold. Right in the back of you guys, you have the guys from Kenorland Mineral, and which I believe, like more result to the market, like it's probably I'd like to say the beginning of a new mining camp. Well, there was mine there, obviously, but like you guys are making it revive, and it's going to be very interesting to follow for the future.
I think
so.
Let me just sum up for everybody, Mario. And you mentioned Dynasty. I don't know if you can see my pointer here, but this little gray piece here, that's Dynasty right there. So
Very small.
give you an idea of what we own versus what they own. And hey, they have a very nice piece of property. Don't get me wrong there. But what we have is something that a major company's would be interested in. We're running an exploration program that is tailored to the way that a major company would like to see this kind of work done. We've got a great land package in what's a very robust gold system, and we know it's good. It's got a tremendous potential because, you know, we in just that 1.5 kilometers where it's been historically been worked, you know, we have 3 veins there. We have three different kinds of mineralization. The Elora is very sulfide rich, thick. The quartz veining and quartz stringer around on those big master veins, and then the kind of the confirmation we made that the sheared basalts, again very much like Red Lake, are also carrying gold. So the gold seems to have you know, it's very high grade in places, but it seems to be everywhere. So I think we have tremendous optionality in this story right now at an $8 million market cap. I mean, I won't say that we're going to be Great Bear 2.0, but we could be.
Never know.
And at the very least, we
so.
you know, we feel like we can certainly find a few million ounces of near surface high grade gold in some of these pods throughout, you know, at different places on the property, which would go very well with the 3 million ounces that Treasury Metals has up there. So tremendous optionality in this story from this prize.
Okay. On this, thank you very much, Trey and Maura, and Dryden Gold, DRY, on the TSX Venture. Once again, thank you very much for your time, and we'll be back and we'll do another presentation. Merci, have a great day, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Have a great day.
Have a good day. Bye.
Merci.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.